Yo, um, I am making another video. Uh, I usually just have these random spurts of inspiration whenever I'm like in between making something or like I'm at home and I'm like not doing anything. But today, uh, I have been watching a lot of anime and I can't deny that the animation has been like 10 out of 10 majority of the time, but I'm into stories and like learning about stories and storytelling. So since I've been studying it, I'm still a student of it. Let me get that very clear. I thought it would be a pretty fun video since I like to nerd out about stories, just to like make a video about it. But yeah, today I'm just gonna be talking about like stories, um, like the structure of them, how to use them, what they're meant for, um, and like some of my favorite stories that I watch, and then just have fun with it. But now I have to give respect to like my invisible teacher, or like online teacher. His name is Brian McDonald, someone I've been following for like the past. It was before COVID, so 5, 6, 7 years. I've been watching his podcast called "You Are a Storyteller," and I'll link that below. But his lessons have been amazing, and I bought books on Amazon. Like I won't name them by name, but I bought books on Amazon, and it's like they give you these fancy graphs and whatnot. And I already have like learning disabilities, like ADHD and some other stuff. But the way that he structured and formatted his books and his videos, like it just made so much sense to me, to the point where I read his book once and I remember just like so much of it. But just to give him a shout out, uh, I'm not just all talk. I bought his books years ago, but I bought his new version, Invisible Ink. It's very good. And for people that don't like small lettering, he even like breaks it down for you in script, well formatted, nice cover. His other book, Land of the Dead, this one is special because it's teaching storytelling but through graphic novel. So it's like he teaches you stories through, because I love art, I like anime, so he teaches you through these amazing drawings. And the artist is Toby Seacrest. Shout out to him. It's the first time I heard of him, but respect for the work. I know I draw myself, and I know art, like, shoot, I know how difficult it is to like draw and storyboard and whatnot. And just looking at these panels, like how I love my circles, but looking at these panels, how beautiful the artwork is and how just very thoughtful it is, which I really appreciate. And he's not just a teacher, he writes his own stories. And this is one of them, Old Souls, which is about like, it's basically about how you deal with your addiction and how like to grieve it and like learn to like get beyond your addictions. This one in particular, he's grieving his addiction to his past lives. And eventually he like goes to like graveyards. It's pretty cool. Like I really liked it. I really appreciated it. I still remember the lessons of it. I haven't read it in like a couple years, but I still remember it. So that's how you know it's good. But I had to start that out because a lot of what I'm saying is based off what I read and what I took from his stories. There may be some other people who you may hear throughout this video that inspire me, but like those are like my main sources. But and I'll say this, like I'll define what a story is, and a story is like the retelling of events leading to a conclusion, like leading to a point where you have to have something to say. It leads to more focus, and like you have to know what you're trying to say. And what he calls it is the armature. Like that's like the foundation of the story, and that's what's like holding it all together. So he calls it the armature, and which sat really well with me. And then he has these 7 steps. Once upon a time, and every day, until one day, because of that, and because of that, until finally, and ever since that day. Those 7 steps like makes writing a story 10 times easier, because you're not going in thinking, oh, what's gonna happen? You know what you're trying to do, and you know how to get there. And that's like what I'm gonna be basing what I'm talking about on. But for me, I'll get into my personal life. I've always been into anime. I've always been into stories. In movies, and I've been watching them for a long time. I'm not like a heavy mad into it, but like I dabble in it, to be truthfully honest, or completely honest. I dabble in it. And then after reading his books, like long story short, like I'll watch my anime, I'll watch like old movies, and it always felt off, like the way it ended, something didn't seem right. And at one point my brother gave me those books, or one of the books, his first version, Invisible Ink. I read that book, I watched his podcast, and it all just made sense to me. It was like, oh, that's why that movie didn't work. That's why that story didn't work. And over the next few years, I would like go into his like recommendations. I would watch like Billy Wilder, Double Indemnity, The Apartment, Planet of the Apes, Aliens, all those old movies. I watch How Green Is My Valley, and then like Hitchcock, Spielberg, like those old movies, and you realize, wow, now I like the difference between the movies that come out today and the stories that came out before then. Like there's a mad difference, and it's like it's more satisfying, and you realize what he was saying is true. That stories, I didn't set that up, but like stories are meant for like survival information. They're meant to help you learn something. Like they're meant for you to take that with you to your next day. And we'll go into like a few, for me personally, like a few exceptions where like things work out, but you look at how well structured their movies are and how thoughtful they put the work in. For example, if you ever heard of the movie The Apartment, it's like a short film. It's like very few, a very few like sets. Like it's his apartment, his office building, and what the story is about. Basically, don't sell yourself to people so that you don't give your soul away, basically. And basically what the guy was doing, he was using his apartment and he was giving it to his bosses, and they were using it to have like affairs and these fun parties with, just so he can get the promotion. And he kept using that, and then he meets somebody that does the same thing in their own way. It's really interesting. But yeah, I was gonna get more personal, but I ended up talking about his book. So to get back to that, for my personal life, I I remember I was watching a movie, because I watched his stuff, but I wasn't practicing enough. I would practice like here and there, and because I'm dabbling, I'm not like a fanatic, but I dabble in it. And I watched one movie. I think it was like K-pop Demon Hunters. Like I like animation movies, and I loved the movie. Then I watched it again, and I was like, it's still pretty cool. Then I watched it again. Okay, that's nice. Then I watched it one more time, and I was like, wait, something's not right. I don't like the story doesn't feel, it feels off. And I thought about his podcast, and I was like, oh, they didn't set that up. They didn't set up the context of that movie. So I went, like, I nerded out again, and I got like really like passionate. I'm like, man, that has so much potential. Even though the movie was like, well, like, respect to the creators, I'm like, man, that if they just set that up, that would have been so well done. And I was like, man, let me stop hating and like write my own stuff. So I like, because I do Uber, I do Uber. So I'm like in the car and thinking to myself, I'm gonna write my own story. So I brought my notebook with me one time. I was just like writing out story ideas and whatnot. And then, like I said, I like anime and I like One Piece. Now One Piece, the structure of One Piece is not very good. Like, I respect to Oda and the creator, but with a lot of like, I hate to say it, but it's just not well written. Even though like the energy of it is good, and like it still helps me, it still inspired me to do something. Like I give it credit because it inspired me to like go and do another day in life, to like, you know, meet good people, like find good friends, and like have a good community, and like follow your dreams. But in terms of like the story structure, I'm like, it's been 20 years and it's still like issues, but that's a whole nother thing. But I love this one character, Kuina, if y'all know her. She passed away in the story, but I ended up like, what if she survived in my head? Like, who would she be if she grew up? And that was like the concept of it. And but I had to think about the craft of it. I was like, okay, what's my armature though? Like, what am I trying to say? Before I start thinking about like cool concepts and get lost in it. So basically, my armature was like, your healing comes from the inside out, basically. And I did that through, you know, I had like a power system. I use hockey as a power system. And it's free, like on the PDF. Like, I'll link it in the thing below. But it was a short story. And basically she had like an issue with her heart. And she had to heal that through like this spiritual experience. And like she goes through this whole journey. And she thought she couldn't, but eventually, and she's trying to be the world's greatest swordsman. Like, how can you have this passion for something and your heart's hurting and you're not dealing with it, and try to be the world's greatest? So that inspired me to do something of it. So I wrote a short story. To be self-critical, there's probably a lot of stuff in it that I could have done better. Like play some things out, take some things out, keep it simpler and clean, to use the right words. But I enjoyed it. Like, I cried writing it, to be real with you. It was very emotional to write it, and I loved the process. I stayed up like nights, like writing and just working on it, and I cried because it was very personal to me. And we'll get into more on that later, but was I gonna say? Yeah, that it brought back the spark to write. So after I did that story, and even though I didn't really get much of a reception, I put it out on like my Instagram. I don't know who actually read it, but I was like, hey, I love that process. I love like the craft of it. I love like the spiritual nature of it. So I wrote another one, and like halfway through writing it, I'm like, let me actually try to like put myself out there and like take myself more seriously. So I halfway through writing it, I'm like, I'm gonna put this on Amazon. Like I wonder how much it costs for me to like get like a publisher. And then I found out, oh, Amazon has like free publishing and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to do it for sure. And I was like nervous because like, who actually will like get the book? I mean, I got family, but who actually will get the book and read it? So I was nervous, but I was like, I had to like snap myself back and like, nah, I mean, I love the process of it. Even if one person buys it and it helps them or heals them, I'm happy. And long story short, I ended up writing it. It's called The Inner World of Janae and Rumi. And again, it's about like healing comes from the inside. Same armature, but like different characters. But it's about a painter who is struggling with his own. He's like what like, I guess like foreign people do, that like tuck their issues under, or like men. And he's not really dealing with his issues. He's doing it with like outside material things, like material. Well, to be specific, he was using paintings as the way to heal. But like painting is therapeutic. It's not really healing. So eventually he meets this girl who has like this mystical ability called Ruh, like spirit. It's like it's like an Islamic term, like it's spirit. And like she teaches him how to like heal from the inside out. And I wrote it and I put it on Amazon, The Inner World of Janae and Rumi. It's short, but I love it. I chose the best font because I learned this from Brian McDonald, that some people, when they're reading books, they have like dyslexia, and they're like certain fonts that you can't read. And I try to find the best font. Like my margins are messed up because of Amazon publishing, but I try to like find the best font to use, and I hope it helps people, whoever buys it. And this is the back cover. It's like stars, and since it's a mystical story, so it's like the stars. And I was inspired by Janae Aiko. Like her music is really beautiful, whatnot. But I did put a disclaimer to make it show that I'm not trying to use her name. But yeah, so I did it. I ended up writing another book called Where Are You, which is like a similar armature, and I'm working on changing them, so don't think it's all the same. But basically this one, I don't have it on me, unfortunately, excuse me, but this one is like, your home is where your heart is. And even if you like, let's say you got fired, you're not getting work, or you don't feel close at home, even with family, you don't feel like close at home with friends, and you're like, you just don't feel like there's a really strong bond. It's like, no matter where you are, like you have your heart, you have like that spirit, you're good. And this character, his name was Issa. he lost his job, and he was having trouble, like, and he didn't really have someone to like confide in, and he was struggling, and he wanted to like feel at home. And again, his friend helped him out. Her name is Ren. But yeah, that one I like the world of like Janae and Rumi a little bit more, but it was like they're like this, like they're similar. I can see the similarities in it, and that's something I also need to work on, like versatility, like stepping outside of my comfort zone, like not being afraid to tell that story through the lens of like someone across the world, or maybe a business CEO or something like that, like having versatility. But I love writing those books. And to go off of that, I said something earlier. I said that about the healing thing. I said something that I wanted to mention. But okay. So I feel like the stories, okay. I also wanted to mention this, and it's about the craft. Like the craft is very important, and you should be studying. But I also feel like there should be a harmony between like the craft and a spiritual life. I feel like you should have a spiritual life kind of thing going on, whether it's like meditating for like 5 minutes, or like having, a space that you go to. I don't think you should be studying all the time. I could be wrong on this one, but I feel like you don't forget that you're also a major source, if that makes sense, that you have, like, it's coming through you, if that makes sense. Like you have, I don't even know how to describe it, but you're just a source to it. Like you're just like an antenna to it. And I love to see people who, in interviews and whatnot, they talk about, oh, like I'm really working on this quality of like being compassionate or like forgiving. Because if you're judging yourself and you're judging your characters and you're judging like who's right, who's wrong, you won't really write the best story because you're in a state of judgment. And more often than not, I see that in people who have a spiritual life. And I'm not talking about, yeah, religion can help, but I'm also talking about like people who do yoga and whatnot. All right, sorry about that. I had to take care of some things real quick. That's why the lighting seems like night and day. I just had to take care of some things, but I'm back. And I wanted to get back into the last thing I remember talking about. We talked about the spiritual life is like part of the craft of like writing stories. And I feel like that's true. I feel like that's the kind of path that I would want to walk. And that's the kind of path I would want the people around me to walk as well. Getting older, you realize how, I realized how important having a spiritual life is for me. And that's um that's just where I want to go in my life. And not that it's happened, but if I notice things like disconnecting because of that, or someone doesn't like the way that I move, if I notice that in my future, then I'll be a little bit more understanding to why they're not in my life. Because like that's just, it's so important. I feel like stories are the most important thing. One of the most important things. It's not entertainment. It's not a money grab. It resonates so well for a human being. It's just how we live. It's the way that we live. From the beginning of time, just how we wrote the oldest known, not the oldest written story, but the oldest known story of the first human being. That's just how we remember things. Just the story of Adam and Eve getting banished. You know, the oldest written story about Gilgamesh chasing immortality. It's just in our conscious. I just feel like it's in our consciousness. And if you're not considering the way it's passed down to be a spiritual thing, then, you know, Nipsey Hussle said the same thing. He said, like, if you're a musician or a rapper or a writer, and you don't realize that you're going somewhere, you're going in here or in here, and you're bringing it down, you're expressing it. If you don't recognize it as a spiritual thing, he was like, you're not sitting with it long enough. I think you're so caught up in the outer expression of it. You're looking at it as a material thing, you know? And the reason why I corrected myself by saying it's one of the most important things, I would say, I say energy, like life energy, connecting to that is probably more important. I think our stories became literature where it's like more artificial, more intellectual, but life energy is life energy, and you connect to your heart. You're like connecting through prayer, like connecting to your heart, quotation marks, but through prayer. That's one, it's just as important as telling a story, praying, but people call it manifesting nowadays. But, you know, Eckhart Tolle calls it being present. It's like, you know, Taoism, they do Tai Chi. Even in anime, like I said in the beginning, I don't think anime has the best stories, but they still have strong spiritual traditions connected to it. You watch Naruto, look how they use chakra. You watch JJK, look how they use cursed energy. It's in our consciousness, and that's just how I feel about it. But, yeah, I would need, if I was supposed to work with someone in the future, especially like creating my own personal, one of my dreams, I draw sometimes, but one of my dreams is to create a graphic novel, but I actually don't want to draw it, which is kind of funny. Even though I'm an artist, I would help, and I would definitely help with the story and help with the drawing. I don't think I want to do it alone. I don't think, it's not, I wrote a book, but I don't need to, but I want to. I don't need to. I would want to. I think it's just to have like a person, a companion to like sit down with it and nerd out with it. I would enjoy that. You know, just like that bond. You connect with someone that way. Um, I would enjoy that for sure, for sure. But yeah, honestly, I. But to switch the topic, I wanted to talk about my favorite stories right now, outside of the classics. I don't know. I don't think none of the classics are my favorite stories. Like a Shawshank Redemption, like the first Planet of the Apes, like those black and white movies. They're not my favorite, but I recognize they're the best. They're the most well crafted. I recognize that just as a student. But my favorite movies, and they're probably not, like people will say, they're not the most well crafted. As of right now, it changes. So don't like take this with a grain of salt. The last movie, I cried to this movie, to be vulnerable. But Neja 2, it was a Chinese film that I stumbled upon through like Instagram reels. But the second one, Neja 2, I think it was because they were trying to move me. And basically that story is about a demon child trying to get beyond his destiny, and basically how a good role model can change your destiny when, even though the world defines you as a demon or evil. And basically it was just having good people around him. And the story has been told before, but they just, I don't know. It hit different because, a little spoiler, but like just, there was this one moment where so like basically a higher power destined him to die like sometime after his birth. And he knew that, or eventually he found that out, and people around him been trying to stop it. And there was one line saying like, "Why wouldn't y'all let me have a good end?" And he was just crying, and it just hit. I don't know why, but I was like, wow. It's been a minute since someone really made a movie like that. I think a lot of the movies, they want to entertain me. That's why a lot of the Marvel movies are like jokes and action sequences, special effects. You know, it's really fancy, it's really beautiful, really fancy, but to move me like that is amazing. That was a good movie. It sticks with me. My favorite movie used to be Spider-Verse, Princess Mononoke, some other movies. It's not clicking, like I'm forgetting, but Neja 2 was one of them. And for shows, I don't know. For animes, I'll say this. Naruto, I love Frieren. That's a good one. I love Bleach. I love what else do I love? It's not hitting, but I would say there are plenty of animes that I love the animation, like down. They're like some of the best animators in the world, no doubt. But it's just, again, the story doesn't resonate and it doesn't stick with you, but for movies, Neja is up there, and definitely, for sure. And then I'm making this video because I like nerding out, and I like sharing these things, and hopefully, even if someone like made it this far, like I hope like, hey, maybe you got something from it, and I just like to end it on this, to add on end it on this, just to wrap it up. If you're gonna get into writing stories, if you're gonna get into this craft, I would say number one, for me, like, have a spiritual life, number one, because some people will say do it for you, some people will say do it for people as a service. You do it for you, it comes off as selfish. You do it for people, they're never satisfied. They'll critique you, they'll call it trash, they'll like judge you for your skin tone, they'll judge you for your gender, but if you have a spiritual life, you're doing it for the collective energy, you already like, there's so many quotes in spiritual traditions that be like, you're already whole, you're already complete, you're just living. That's why having a spiritual life is very important. So I would say that's number one, because even if you did get up to the highest level, you look at the lifestyle of people up there, you may not like it. Their mindset may be in a dark place. And it's only when that story is writing then the light comes. It's like, that's not always healthy. So yeah, that's my number one. But like, as a craft, know what you're trying to say is very important. Know what you're trying to say, because it gives you a focus. It gives you, let's say you're trying to write about Chinese history or African history. If you go in with just like that, I want to write about Chinese or African history, it's too much. Like, Chinese history is 5,000 years. African history is, a lot of the history was taken away, but it goes deep. But if I was to say, I want to talk about how eating good food will save your life. If that's what I want to talk about, it will narrow you down to like, okay, we don't need to learn about, warriors. Like, maybe, but like, even if you got into warrior stuff, it's like, okay, what kind of food do they eat? Were they walking? Like, you'll get creative with it. Like, okay, a healthy warrior that's like tired, they're walking, and then what kind of herbs do they pick up? That makes sense. And then same thing with African history, the same thing. Know what you're trying to say. Number three, understand like 3-act structure. I think people may have different terms for it, like 12-act structure, 9-act structure. Keep it simple. 1, 2, 3. It's not. I think if you're getting stuck on the number of acts, you will have a hard time writing, for sure. And someone like that's when, like, when you're studying the craft, find the best teacher for you. whether it's online or like in person. But for me, it was Brian McDonald, because he broke down 3-act structure, like I said earlier, once upon a time and every day until one day, because of that and because of that, until finally, and ever since that day. Like I memorized that by heart because he was such a good teacher, and I stuck with it, and it made me feel like I didn't do well in school, like, and especially high school. College, I kind of did good, but I still had the mindset of like, I'm not smart, I'm not talented. It felt like I knew something. It felt like I knew something important, and I took it, and it was great. I was very grateful for it. So shout out to him, times 10. And it's not my place to tell his story, but if you ever get into his work, you'll see how much heart he put into it, how much care. I don't know him personally. Like, I don't know, who he is as a person, but just on screen, or like what I've seen, is like he's put his heart into it. He's put his whole life into it, and that's not an exaggeration. I think he put lives into it. I think he put multiple lives into it. I think he put a lot of work, and he created something very special, and it will live on for a very long time. I don't think, like I said, the energy thing, it's not stories. I think story is just talking about energy, but that's an energy, and it will live. It's a feeling. It will live on for a very long time. Rumi once said, silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation. It's a vibration, it's a feeling. And, the words help you get there, because it's the words that told me to, like, listen. So, yeah, that's, but again, I like making these videos as like a hobby, just to have fun with it sometimes. But if you made it this far, again, I always say this, I appreciate you. I'm grateful. I just emphasize that we're not all perfect. I got a lot of flaws, if you actually get to know me as a person. But that's why we write stories. It's to, like, work through it. It's a tool. It's a healing or survival tool. That's why we do it. I feel like subconsciously, if you look at the best stories. But yeah, I love making these. So, if you're gonna be in my little community, we'll call it a community, a small village. I got my plants in the back. This is I might call this channel Small Village, but I don't know how to end it, but I appreciate y'all. Thank you.